Now, the US National Transportation Safety Board this week said that a mistake by an air traffic controller led to a near collision between two jets on a foggy runway last year in Austin, Texas. It is just one of several investigations into close calls on US airport runways. According to the US Department of Transportation, in 2023, there were 23 incidents where collisions were only narrowly avoided. And in the near miss at Austin, a FedEx cargo plane was given permission to land as a Southwest Airlines jet carrying 128 passengers and crew was cleared for takeoff. Investigators say the FedEx plane aborted its landing when its first officer spotted the Southwest plane on the runway. The FedEx aircraft then pulled back into the air as the Southwest jet continued its run for takeoff. Now, investigators at the NTSB said that inadequate training and a lack of safety technology were factors in the incident. And in May, the US Federal Aviation Administration said that they would install surface detection systems at Austin and other airports by the end of 2025. Well, joining me to discuss this more is Oriana Pollock, an aviation reporter with Politico. Always good to have you with us, Oriana. So if we take a look at the numbers then, we've got federal regulators grappling with this increasing number of close calls on runways across the United States. Do we know why that is?
So, of course, it's going to take some time for investigators to really get down to some of these root causes, but it's never just one thing. It's always a cascading series of elements that had to deal with it. As in the Austin incident, we knew that it's an air traffic controller that wasn't properly trained. It was also very foggy that day. And we also learned that he was listening for the sound of jet noise to know whether or not a plane was taking off. And so last year, again, as you pointed out, there were 23 incidences, and 11 of those were involving at least one passenger airliner. So that is not a great track record. And again, like I said, investigators are boiling down to some of these root causes, with the FAA looking at one element and, of course, the NTSB the other, just to try to piece together some of the information that might be missing and to give them more data on what's going on here.
So the investigations are continuing. In the meantime, we've had safety inspectors already making calls for more technology on the ground to prevent these kinds of close calls. How would that work? Could it prevent more of these kinds of incidents?
Yeah, absolutely. You've heard this this is something the NTSB chair said last week, that, that she has been calling for some of these, or the organization has been calling for some of these technologies where air traffic controllers could see some of this ground equipment via a video screen right there in the air traffic control tower, instead of, like I said earlier, listening for jet noise instead. And that organization has been calling for more of these technologies for more than 30 years. Only about 40 or so airports across the United States have some of the most advanced equipment to see some of the ground movement. And it doesn't always exist either in the cockpit of aircraft, even though some newer aircraft are starting to install them. So that way you have both elements in the airport for the air traffic controllers, as well as those new planes that are getting some of that for the pilots to hear the alarm bells go off when they are going the wrong direction in the airport or as they're landing.
Oriana, I think some people might be quite surprised to hear that that doesn't exist more extensively already across the United States. And of course, nobody wants to see something trending in the wrong direction. You mentioned that some of these incidents, these close calls, were also with passenger planes. I guess the question here is, how concerned should people be about this?
Again, when it boils down to the root causes, everyone is going to try to piece together what some of these elements were that led to them. And as soon as they get some of that data to uncover it, they will then know how to proceed forward. But again, the FAA has talked about exploring more technologies and installing more technologies at airports nationwide. But of course, that's not going to necessarily happen quickly. What it's really going to take is vigilance on the air traffic controller side, training, and vigilance from the pilots as well.
And just in terms of some of those safety pieces of the technology being rolled out, there has been some questions raised about whether that is happening fast enough. What are you hearing, briefly, if you don't mind?
Yeah, absolutely. Some of it has to do with the recently passed FAA bill, and it gives airports up to 5 years to install that. So I think the FAA is going to look at the priority airports and what kind of technologies they're going to need.
Oriana Pollock, aviation reporter with Politico. Always good to get your take, Oriana. Thank you so much for your reporting.
Thank you.
You're watching BBC News. I'm Helena Humphrey in Washington, D.C. Thanks for your company. We'll have more at the top of the hour. Remember, you can always get the very latest on our website, bbcnews.com. I'll see you soon. Bye for now.